Men who witnessed insane events can't explain, but what happened next will haunt you forever. The night was thick with dread, shadows writhing under flickering streetlights like whispers of long-buried secrets clawing their way to the surface. It was the kind of night where the air felt electric, charged with anticipation and the weight of unspoken fears. The bar on the corner was alive with the low hum of nervous laughter, but no one could shake the sense that something extraordinary was simmering just below the surface. When Steve walked in, his face pale and haunted, the snickers turned to hushed murmurs, slow and tense. He had seen something that had twisted his reality and left him trembling. The tale spilled from his lips, a wild narrative of lights that danced like fireflies but burned too bright, cars abandoned with doors ajar, their drivers vanished without a trace. People leaned in, excitement drowning their skepticism, eyes wide and glued to him. "They just disappeared," he exclaimed, hands trembling as he spoke. The room went silent, the raucous clinking of glasses fading to a ghostly echo. You could almost hear the flick of a switch the moment everyone shifted from disbelief to haunting fascination. Just then, the bartender, an older man with a navy cap pulled snug over his graying hair, chimed in, "You weren't the only one, you know." The eyes of the group turned to him, eager for more. "Last week, a couple of truckers stopped in. Said they saw a group of folks standing still at the edge of the woods, motionless for hours." Gasps filled the room. The strange details sent chills down spines, the stillness of adults, frozen mid-laugh, their shadows stark against the moonlight. No one could explain it. The bartender continued, shaking his head, voice trembling with uncharacteristic fear. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." As Steve spoke again, his voice dropped to a hushed whisper, "There's talk that those who go into the woods don't return the same. They change." The room grew colder as the words hung heavy, thick with dread and fascination. One guy at the back scoffed, trying to mask his concern with bravado, "Just a bunch of campfire stories, right?" But even he looked more uncertain than brave. The tension in the air thickened, electric like before a storm. Everyone felt it, the need to uncover the truth, to peel back the layers of mystery shrouding their small town. What had Steve seen? And what had happened to those people in the woods? Questions lingered, hanging in the tense atmosphere, waiting for someone to dare to venture out and seek answers. The night still clung to the bar like a dark cloak, every flicker of light casting elongated shadows that seemed to shift and shiver in anticipation. The crowd was restless, their eyes darting towards the door as if they expected someone or something to come bursting through any second. Steve's narrative had sent a ripple of fear and excitement coursing through the air. People were brokering silent agreements to go deeper into the mystery, even as doubts gnawed at their courage. "Who's going out there?" a newcomer asked, a wiry guy with tousled hair and a goofy grin that didn't quite fit the dread sweeping through the room. The question hung for an eternity, tension thickening like fog. "I will," a woman with determined eyes declared, her voice standing out from the crowd. "I need to see it for myself." "Wait, Hannah. You can't just run into those woods." Another voice warned, a mixture of fear and concern. "What if he's right? What if people don't come back?" The chatter turned frantic. The whispers wrapped tightly around each individual, sparking a mixture of intrigue and caution. Steve's face paled further as he clenched his hands on the bar, fighting against the tide of excitement that surrounded him. "You don't know what's out there. It's not just a story." But the pull of the unknown gripped them more tightly than their fear. Hannah shrugged off her friend's protest. "I'm not scared of campfire tales. I'll go. Anyone want to join me?" Steve opened his mouth to object, but only silence emerged. The bartender shook his head, pouring another round of drinks, but even he couldn't hide the shadow of worry crossing his face. One by one, hesitant voices broke the silence. "I'll go." "Me too. Let us see what's really happening." Before long, a small band of 5 had gathered: Hannah, Steve, a tall fellow named Marcus, a mousy guy named Greg, and a timid woman, Lisa, who couldn't hide the quiver in her voice. "Let us not waste any more time. If there's a truth to uncover, we should be the ones to find out," Hannah stated, her words igniting a flicker of bravery within the group. Stepping outside, the chill of the night wrapped around them like a fraying blanket. The moon hung low and ghostly in the sky, illuminating the direction of the forest. Each footstep sounded like thunder in their ears as they made their way toward the trees, where darkness pooled like ink, waiting to swallow them whole. As they approached the edge of the woods, unease began to settle in. The air grew thick, clenching around their lungs, and even the night creatures fell silent, an eerie stillness pressing down upon them. Shadows danced just out of sight, and distant whispers caressed their skin like a soft warning. "Do you hear that?" Greg muttered, eyes wide and darting. "Shoo!" Marcus hissed, peering into the blackness. "It's coming from there." He pointed deeper into the woods, where something moved just beyond the reach of the moonlight, a flicker of light, blue and piercing. "What is that?" Hannah's voice trembled as she took a step forward, the group instinctively falling in line behind her. Then, without warning, the flicker exploded into a blinding brilliance, illuminating the trees, revealing figures standing at the edge of the clearing. Each person froze, mouths agape, faces turned toward the light, and before they fully comprehended what was happening, the light swallowed them whole. As the brilliant glow faded, the woods returned to their oppressive silence, shadows reclaiming the dark, leaving only a few crumpled items behind: an abandoned coat, a phone still buzzing with notifications, and the faint echo of voices that once dared to uncover the truth. What awaited them beyond the veil of light? And what would they find upon their return, if they returned at all? The silence that enveloped the woods had a weight thick, oppressive, and unnerving. Stars blinked above like distant eyes watching the unfolding drama. The wind rustled the leaves, a quiet whisper conveying the unease that hung in the air. Inside the flood of light, confusion reigned. Hannah blinked, trying to shake off the disorientation. Just moments ago, they had been standing on the precipice of the unknown, adrenaline surging. Now, they were, where? "Does anyone know where we are?" Lisa's voice quivered, breaking the fog of uncertainty. Steve was scanning their surroundings, shaking his head. "I can't, this doesn't feel right." Marcus squinted, focusing on the outlines of trees that now seemed unnatural, even hostile. "I think we're still in the woods, but it's like everything is different." Before anyone could process the implications, the light began to pulse around them, flickering like a heartbeat, illuminating an eerie tableau of twisted tree branches and shadows that didn't belong to the group. Each flicker revealed figures' silhouettes with heads bowed and arms raised, as if in silent supplication. "We need to move," Hannah asserted, fear igniting her determination. She tugged at Marcus's sleeve, urging him to follow. With no solid ground to stand on, they sprinted away from the pulsating glow, their hearts racing, fear electrifying their limbs. As they dashed forward, the cold grip of panic twisted tighter in their chests. "We should never come here," Greg gasped, breathless. "Shut up," Hannah snapped, her voice laced with urgency. "Just keep going." The air was thickening, swirling, as if the woods themselves were conspiring against them. Footfalls echoed, but they weren't alone. There were whispers now, cold, unintelligible words that danced eerily through the trees, brushing against their skin like spider silk. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the night, causing them all to stop mid-step. Hannah glanced back, catching sight of a shadow moving just beyond the trees. It was swift, fluid, and terrifyingly large. "What was that?" Lisa cried, her voice trembling like a frail leaf in the wind. "Come on. We can't stand here." Steve urged, his eyes wide with fear. The group forged ahead, adrenaline propelling them deeper into the woods. Each breath felt like a choke, each heartbeat thundered in their ears. The pulsating light was now far behind, replaced by an unnatural darkness that clawed at their minds. As they reached a small clearing, they halted, panting, bodies buzzing with fear. The moon hung overhead, barely cutting through the surrounding gloom, allowing them to see what lay before them, a crude stone altar, etched with strange symbols glowing a faint blue like the light that had swallowed them moments earlier. "What is this place?" Marcus whispered, all mixing with terror. Hannah stepped closer, ignoring the tremor in her hands. "I don't know. But we need to." Before she could finish, a shrill scream shattered the stillness, echoing through the night. Greg's scream. Their eyes darted back to him, horror washing over their faces. He was frozen, staring into the darkness, mouth agape. "It's coming. Something is coming," he shouted, backing away. A figure emerged, a grotesque silhouette with contorted limbs, gliding towards them with a menacing grace. "Run!" Hannah shouted, the terror pooling in her stomach. They scrambled back, heartbeats sinking in a frantic rhythm as darkness closed in around them. Yet as they turned to flee, the edges of the universe felt as if they were unraveling, time stretching, reality warping, leaving them questioning what was truth, and what was the darkness that now loomed behind them. Would they escape the entity that trailed them, or was this only the beginning of something way beyond their understanding? As they fled deeper into the forest, the shadows whispered louder, and for the first time, they wondered if they were truly alone, or if they were now part of something far darker. Could they trust their own minds? And who or what would they encounter next? Panic surged through Hannah as she sprinted, her mind racing faster than her legs could carry her. Behind them, the creature's breath hung heavy, a chilling reminder of its presence. It echoed through the night, creating a symphony of fear that made her spine tingle. "Keep running. Don't look back," she shouted again, the urgency burning in her throat. The trees blurred past, sinister hands reaching out like the ghosts of the lost, trying to pull them into the darkness. They veered left, the forest closing around them, branches tearing at their clothes like desperate fingers. Lisa stumbled, her foot catching on a twisted root, and Hannah's heart skipped a beat. Without thinking, she yanked her friend up before she could hit the ground. "We can't stop," Steve hollered, pushing past them, eyes wild. As they ran deeper into the woods, snippets of words from the shadows began to form. Not whispers, but the hushed tones of what sounded like a chant. It was rhythmic, eerie, and it seeped into their bones, weaving dread into their very souls. "Do you hear that?" Marcus gasped, panic-laden breaths punctuating each word. "Shut up," Greg hissed, glancing over his shoulder. "Whatever's following us, it's real." The words hung in the air. Hannah glanced back, catching a fleeting glimpse of the figure, now closer, its inhuman features illuminated briefly by the moonlight. Distorted limbs, an uneven gait. It staggered, but even that was unnerving. There was a purpose behind its advance. It was hunting, and they were the prey. "Which way?" Lisa cried, her voice shrill. Hannah didn't have time to think. "This way!" she yelled, pushing forward into the thickening darkness. Beneath her feet, the ground shifted. It was as if the forest responded to their fear, morphing, shifting, an entity that was alive. Suddenly, the path ahead split in two. One route led deeper into the dark, the other toward a flickering light faintly visible in the distance. "The light!" Steve yelled, pointing. "It might be a way out. Or a trap." Marcus countered, panting hard. "Do you want to take your chances with that thing?" Hannah shot back, fear sharpening her tone. Without waiting for a response, she bolted toward the uncertain light, her friend stumbling after her. As they approached, the illumination became clearer. A small cabin nestled between the trees, its windows spilling warmth into the cold night. Relief washed over Hannah, but it was quickly overshadowed by unease. "What if we're walking into another trap?" Greg whispered, pausing. "Better than standing in the dark," Hannah shot back, urgency threading through her voice. The door creaked open before her hand even touched it. The welcoming glow spilled forth, but there was something wrong. The shadows danced inside as if alive, undulating to a rhythm they couldn't hear. Hannah hesitated. Should we go in? A gust of wind howled past them, cold and biting, echoing a warning. Outside, the chanting grew louder. It wasn't just a few voices anymore, it felt like the forest itself was alive, calling out, beckoning them to join whatever ritual lay in wait. The creature lurked close, its breaths heavy, hungry. Adrenaline surged in Hannah's veins as she took a step forward, but when she did, the floor beneath her shifted unnaturally, pulling her back. It was as if the very ground was warning her. "Let us get inside," Steve urged, pushing past her, only to be yanked back as he hit an invisible wall, his eyes wide with confusion. "Something's wrong." Hannah screamed, panic rising. They huddled close, torn between the urges to flee into the depths of the woods or surrender to the false safety of the cabin. Each option dripped with uncertainty, each second threatening to push them into despair. And then, from the shadows, a laughter deep, dark, with a touch of madness. "It's coming," Lisa murmured, eyes wide. Was it too late to escape? Would the cabin offer safety or seal their fate? The whispers crescendoed, drowning out reason, urging them toward the looming darkness. One thing became clear, there was no turning back now. What lay ahead was a truth they weren't ready to face. For in the depths of the woods, a terrifying revelation awaited them, and it would demand a sacrifice. What had they unleashed, and would they learn how to survive the night? The cabin loomed larger as they stood frozen at the threshold, its flickering light a beacon yet twisted by shadow. Fear clawed at Hannah's throat. The sounds outside intensified, the chanting morphing into a cacophony of voices overlapping in panic. It felt like the forest itself was crying out, and the air thickened with despair. "Go!" Steve broke the trance. Pushing past Hannah and into the warm glow, he stumbled. The cabin felt alive, its wooden walls creaking like bones. "Wait! Don't!" Hannah screamed. But the door swung shut behind them, leaving her, Lisa, Greg, and Marcus outside in the biting cold. Inside, Steve blinked, his wide eyes adjusting to the light. Shadows twisted on the walls, grotesque shapes moving as if they were part of some unseen dance. He turned back only to see his friends bunched together, lost, terrified, and grasping at each other, as if drawing strength from the tightness of their group. "What's wrong with you guys?" Steve asked, backing toward the window. The door with a jolt, Greg pounded against the cabin door. "Let us in. We can't stay out here. That thing is hunting us." But before he could grasp the handle, it turned, and the door swung open once more. An unbidden cold gust poured out of the cabin, making them shiver. In the dim light, Hannah saw something, a glimpse of form behind the door, shadows coiling around tight, jagged edges. The creature. "Run!" Hannah screamed. But as they turned, it was there. Cracking limbs, a rancid smell that seized the air, hunger glistened in its eyes. She pushed Marcus, and he stumbled toward the darkness, while she wheeled back with a burst of terror. The monster emerged fully, its distorted body lunging forward. "Get in! Now!" Lisa's voice was sharp, cutting through the encroaching dread. They surged into the cabin, slamming the door just as the creature collided with it. Wood splintered, but the door held. The moment of relief was quickly replaced by the overwhelming realization of their surroundings. The cabin was filled with soot-laden furniture, dust motes swirling in the air. It smelled of old wood and something else, something decayed. And while the warmth of the flickering fire soothed their bones, dread coiled around their hearts. "What do we do now?" Marcus gasped, his breath coming in harsh bursts. "There's got to be a way out of here." "I can't." Steve's voice trembled, his gaze darting toward every shadow. "No windows," Greg murmured, scanning the room. "Just that stairway." He pointed to a staircase that spiraled into darkness. "No way I'm going up there," Lisa whispered, clinging to Hannah. The feeling of confinement choked her. But the chanting swelled outside, more intense than before, pulsating like a heartbeat. It pushed at the walls, a living force demanding entrance. Shadows flickered in the corners of the cabin, flicking toward the stairway, as if beckoning them. Gritting her teeth, Hannah made a decision. We can't stay here. We have to see what's up there. Are you insane? Greg shot back, panic boiling over in his voice. That thing is right outside. It's not just going to let us walk out. We have to know. She turned to face them, desperation mixing with determination. Whatever's going on has to end. If we don't confront it, we'll be caught forever just like everyone else. One by one, their faces reflected the weight of the decision. They knew their fears, yet they felt the pull of something darker, something calling to them from those unseen depths. They hesitated, each wrestling with the fear of the unknown versus pure survival instincts. Just then, the door exploded inward. The creature, more monstrous than before, howled as it advanced into the cabin. In that instant, instinct kicked in. They scattered. Without a second thought, Hannah sprinted for the stairs, heart hammering, where the only path was up, away from the terror pursuing them. Each step echoed in her chest as she climbed higher. Whatever awaited them now, it would demand their courage and reveal the truth of what had begun this monstrous chase, but would they find salvation, or something worse? What lay ahead loomed larger than the darkness behind them, an end that felt like a new beginning. Would they ever find peace again, or had they already crossed a line from which no return was possible? The steps creaked beneath Hannah's feet, each groan sending shivers up her spine. Darkness enveloped her, swallowing her whole. She could barely see. Behind her, the sounds of chaos escalated. The others were there, but she could feel the distance growing with every frantic heartbeat. Keep moving. We can't stop. She urged, glancing over her shoulder. The world below was lost in shadows, chaos simmering, shrieks mingling with roars echoing through the stairwell. Where are we going? Marcus panted, his voice trembling. He had some light from the flickering fire below breaking through the distortion of shadows, but it was fading fast. Just up. Hannah pressed, though doubt gnawed at her. Where could this staircase take them? It felt endless, spiraling into nothingness. The air grew colder, a biting chill that got under her skin. Lisa gasped, the sound sharp and laden with panic. What if it follows us? Her words hung heavy, echoing in the silence that filled the stairwell. Then the thumping noises came, every footfall a reminder of the creature hunting them. The walls seemed to pulse, as if the cabin itself was alive, leaning in close, creeping in. Suddenly, Greg tripped, his foot catching on an unseen splinter. No. Panic surged through him as he fell, scrambling to get up. Hannah barely caught his wrist, yanking him up. She could see the fear in his eyes, a reflection of her own. We have to go faster. They surged upward, their breaths frantic, scrambling with urgency. But with every step, the shadows felt more oppressive. They were chasing them now, coiling around their legs, whispering secrets of despair. Finally, just when Hannah thought there was no way out, the staircase opened up into another room. A small, dimly lit attic filled with old furniture draped in sheets. Dust hung in the air, motes dancing in the faint glow that bled from a cracked window. Look! Steve shouted, pointing toward a ladder that led to a tiny trapdoor. That might lead us out. The group rushed into the room, each aware of the ticking clock counting down the moments until the creature followed them up the stairs. They could hear its breath, ragged and wet, creeping ever closer. Go! Go! Marcus yelled, pushing Lisa and Greg toward the ladder. But as Hannah began to climb, a horrible realization washed over her. Wait! She called down, her heart sinking. What if we just trap ourselves up there? Doubt filled the air, swirling like mist. It's better than waiting to become its meal. Greg shouted back, desperation coloring his words. Before she could argue, Marcus was already halfway up. Hannah felt a surge of courage pushing her to follow, while the others scrambled up behind them. It felt like a race against time, and fire lit the air behind them, a flash of horror that spurred them onward. Hannah reached the latch. She pushed against the door, but panic fluttered in her chest. It wouldn't budge. Help! The others joined her, but the door refused to yield. As they scrambled, a guttural growl echoed below. The creature was there, powerful and ready. Then the wall shuddered. Hannah's heart stopped when she heard the splintering sound behind them. It was breaking through. Faster! Lisa screamed, 2 inches from a full breakdown, her hands trembling. Suddenly, the door flung open, but what lay beyond was not the freedom they hoped for. Instead, a vast emptiness stretched out before them, a swirling void filled with darkness. "Where the hell are we?" Hannah whispered, fear creeping into her voice. "We can't go back," Greg shouted desperately. And with that, they were standing on the precipice, forcing themselves to face the void below them, feeling the breath of their pursuer creeping closer. The question hung heavy in the air: should they leap into the unknown or risk facing the nightmare behind? What awaited them on the other side? For the first time, Hannah felt like hope was slipping right through her fingers. And then, a shadow unfurled from behind them, shifting in the darkness. Would this leap save them, or doom them forever? The void yawned in front of them, a hungry chasm of darkness that seemed to pulse, as if alive, beckoning them to take the leap. Hannah's heart raced. Behind them, the stench of putrid breath filled the attic, an invisible force creeping ever closer. She could hear the creature sniffing the air, like a wolf searching for its next meal. We have to jump," Marcus shouted, his voice breaking with uncertainty. "Are you serious?" Lisa's voice trembled. "What if we fall forever?" Hannah's mind raced. The idea of jumping into that empty abyss was terrifying, yet staying meant certain doom. "Count to 3. On 3. Greg urged, glancing nervously back at the stairway. 3. Lisa replied. "Or should it be 2? Let us go on 3. Marcus hissed, frustration laced with fear. "Fine. 1 2 As the words teetered on the brink of 3, the wall behind them splintered violently. Ferocious claws began to claw into the attic's wooden frame, splinters flying like bullets. Time felt suspended, the air thick with dread. "Now!" Hannah screamed, just as the creature's growl erupted in fury. Instinct took over. She pushed herself forward into the darkness, gripping Marcus' arm tightly as they fell. The free fall was sickening. Everything spun. Cold air whipped around them as fear clawed at her insides. But there was also a strange sense of weightlessness. She thought she was going to scream, but no sound escaped her lips. Suddenly, they landed, not with a thud but with a soft sigh, as if the darkness had embraced them. She looked around, breathless, an endless expanse of shadow stretching out in all directions, but a faint glow pulsated a few yards away, like a heartbeat in the dark. "Is everyone okay?" Marcus gasped, his voice shaky, almost drowned by the silence surrounding them. I think so," Greg stammered. "But what is this place?" Hannah squinted into the dark, trying to see the source of the light. Each pulse seemed to whisper to her, calling her closer. "Let us move carefully," she suggested, unsure of what lay ahead. The last thing they needed was to stumble upon another threat. As they crept toward the glow, Hannah was suddenly aware of the eerie stillness that had replaced the frantic chaos they had just escaped. It was unsettling. The silence felt like a pressure, coiling around her throat. They entered a small clearing, the source of the glow now unmistakable. It was coming from an ancient, flickering lantern resting on a stone pedestal. "What the hell?" Lisa breathed out, stepping closer. But Hannah felt a tug in her gut, a primal warning to stay back. "Wait!" she cautioned, but she was too late. Lisa reached out toward the lantern. As her fingers brushed against its weathered surface, an electric shock surged through the air. The lantern flared to life, casting shadows that danced like phantoms along the walls. Suddenly, the ground shook beneath them. "Run!" Hannah shouted, but before they could react, cracks began to spread and swallow the ground around the pedestal, revealing dark chasms that opened into nothingness. Hannah and the others scrambled back, but as they glanced around, the familiar fear returned. The creature's growl echoed through the darkness, this time louder, closer. "It found us!" Greg shouted, panic dousing his voice. The lantern's light shimmered like a beacon, illogical yet mesmerizing. "What do we do?" Marcus yelled, confusion in his eyes. Then, from the depths of the shadows, a figure emerged. It was tall and twisted, more monstrous than they had imagined. Its eyes glowed red, locking onto Hannah, full of a hunger that made her skin crawl. Behind her, the ground continued to fracture, the threat of falling deep into the unknown loomed. The creature pressed forward, its breath hot and rancid. "Is it a doorway?" Hannah gasped, gripping the lantern as if it held the answers they needed. But the answer hung in the air: would this light save them or lead them closer to the nightmare they had run from? With every second, the choice loomed: fight back or surrender to the chasms creeping towards them. And as the creature lunged forward, the ground beneath them crumbled. As the ground gave way beneath them, Hannah felt the familiar sense of dread tightening her chest. Time slowed, the darkness around them swirling like a living thing. The twisted creature lunged forward, its claws slicing through the air with a furious snarl. "Jump back!" Marcus shouted, pulling Hannah hard against him. They both tumbled to the side just in time. The creature missed them, crashing down where they had stood moments before. A shower of dust and dirt billowed up, choking the air. "Where do we go?" Lisa gasped, her eyes wide with fear. Hannah's gaze darted around the clearing, desperate for an escape. The flickering lantern pulsed again, illuminating the ground around it. "There! We can use the light!" she exclaimed, but the chasms continued to widen, remnants of the earth cracking away into the inky blackness. "I have an idea!" Greg shouted. "What if we use the lantern to defend ourselves?" "Defend ourselves?" Marcus echoed, disbelief washing over him. "Against that? It's insane." "It's desperate," Hannah interjected. "And we need to do something." With the creature circling back, its eyes like glowing coals, Hannah felt an urgency burn inside her. Fear turned into determination. "Greg, get the lantern close to it. It might drive it away." As they moved toward the light, each step felt monumental. The air shimmered around them, thick with tension. Greg carefully reached out and grasped the lantern, the warmth from it spreading through his fingers like liquid fire. Suddenly, the creature lunged again. Hannah couldn't breathe as she screamed, "Now!" With a wild motion, Greg thrust the lantern forward. For a split second, the creature staggered, as though repelled by the light. Its growl turned into a shriek, an unearthly noise that seemed to reverberate through the shadows. "Keep it steady!" Marcus yelled, his voice a frantic whisper. The light intensified, throwing long shadows that danced wildly on the walls. The creature roared in rage and confusion, its grotesque form writhing as if trying to shield itself from the radiance. But the cracks widened. A cacophony of splintering wood and groaning earth filled the air. Just as it seemed they might win, the ground beneath the pedestal buckled violently. The stone slab that held the lantern slipped dangerously, tilting, the monster's eyes flickered with renewed fury. "It's not enough!" Lisa cried, backing away. "Hold it! Just hold it!" Greg shouted, sweat dripping from his brow. Hannah's heart raced. The shadows were closing in again as the creature seemed to recover its footing, its attention fully drawn to the light. The three of them frantically backed up to form a defensive position, but it wasn't enough. The chasm split further, threatening to rip them apart. "Think! There must be something!" Hannah yelled. The lantern flickered, a sign of weakening. She had to act fast. "Look!" Greg shouted, his voice cutting through the panic. The symbols on the pedestal. Hannah's eyes darted to the stone base. Strange etchings glowed faintly along its edges, pulsing with the lantern's light. What do they mean? I don't know, but maybe we can activate it somehow. As the creature charged, mo agape, Hannah clutched the lantern, desperate. She pressed her palm against the pedestal and whispered, "Please." That was when everything exploded. The ground trembled with a fierce vibration. Energy surged from the pedestal, enveloping them all in blinding light. A brilliant flash consumed every shadow, every sound, and every ounce of fear. Transformative light surrounded them, and Hannah felt weightless, like they were floating, but the creature roared one last time, and then silence. When the light faded, Hannah dared to open her eyes. Where were they now? The ground beneath them was solid, but the air felt different, charged with something inexplicable. Not just the absence of the creature but something more. Darkness loomed in the corners of her vision, yet it was familiar. Hannah. Marcus's voice broke through her thoughts. What just happened? She felt a chilling realization settle in her mind. What had they unleashed? And as they took in their surroundings, a sense of dread returned. Something was watching them from the shadows, something even more sinister than before. The tension hung in the air, thick enough to cut with a knife. Hannah glanced at Marcus, his brow furrowed, and she could see the uncertainty behind his eyes. They had escaped the creature, but had they truly evaded danger? Where are we? Greg murmured, looking around with wide eyes. His voice trembled, a sharp contrast to the silence that folded over them like a shroud. The ground beneath them glimmered with a surreal sheen, as if some unseen light was trapped within the surface. A forest of twisted trees loomed around them, their gnarled branches clawing at the darkening sky. The air was thick with an earthy scent tinged by something sweet, intoxicatingly so. "This doesn't feel right," Lisa breathed, her voice barely a whisper. "What did we bring with us?" Before anyone could respond, a low growl echoed from the darkness, a guttural sound that rumbled like a distant thunderstorm. Shadows danced, flickering at the edges of their vision, taunting them. Hannah's heart raced as she instinctively stepped closer to Marcus. "I feel it too," Marcus said, his voice steady. "Whatever it is, it's here with us." Suddenly, a figure burst forth from the darkness, its form skeletal, with elongated limbs and a face contorted in rage. It moved with a speed that defied description, darting across the ground with a blend of grace and menace. "Run!" Lisa screamed, her words igniting the panic that simmered beneath the surface. They bolted, the thick underbrush whipping at their legs as they ran deeper into the woods. Their breaths came in ragged gasps, each footfall pounding against the ground like a drum. The growling escalated behind them, now followed by a chorus of shrieks that clawed at Hannah's sanity. "Where are we going?" Greg shouted, barely keeping pace. "I don't know." Hannah yelled back, but a thought crystallized in her mind, something painful and nagging. "We have to find the pedestal. We need to reverse whatever we did." Without missing a beat, they veered toward the pulse of light that illuminated the forest not far ahead. Twisted trees parted to reveal a clearing, and there it stood, the pedestal, unyielding, surrounded by a halo of luminescence. But the air trembled with danger. The shadows thickened, forming shapes that taunted them with their proximity. The creature, or creatures, were now closer, their breath hot on the backs of Hannah and her friends as they lunged toward the pedestal. "This way." Marcus pointed, the light drawing them in like a moth to a flame. Just as they neared it, a chilling howl shattered the silence, reverberating through the ground. The earth trembled, and the light flickered ominously. "Get to the pedestal," Hannah urged, desperation clawing at her. They skidded to a halt, surrounding the pedestal as chaos unfolded. The light stuttered, dimming with each passing second. "If we activate it again, it might send us back." Greg shouted over the din of growling horrors. "Help me!" Hannah cried, dropping to the ground, her hand pressed against the surface of the pedestal. "We have to harness the energy." Before anyone could comprehend, the shadows lunged, a multitude of glimmering eyes and jagged teeth charging forth. Hannah's heart raced. This was it. They gathered around her, the lantern igniting with a blinding light, but would it be enough? Would they return home, or was this darkness just the beginning? As the energy surged, shadowy forms converged, and Hannah could feel the pulse of an ancient power coursing through her veins. What was coming next? All she knew was that it wasn't just a fight for their lives, it was a race against the darkness that seemed determined to swallow them whole. As the light from the pedestal began to flicker violently, Hannah felt something shift inside her. Waves of energy coursed through her body, a warmth that battled against the encroaching shadows. "We can do this!" she shouted, her voice hoarse but fierce. "We have to believe." The shadows convulsed, a horde of malevolence threatening to engulf them. "Hurry!" Marcus yelled, his fingers trembling around the lantern. Each heartbeat felt like an eternity as Hannah and her friends pressed against the pedestal, their breath coming in ragged gasps. Hannah closed her eyes, drawing upon the growing energy inside her. Images of home flooded her mind: laughter, warmth, safety. "It's time to wake up!" she roared, feeling a fierce determination swell within her. She pressed her palm harder against the pedestal, an echo of light responding to her will. Suddenly, the lantern pulsed like a heart, brightening, engulfing the clearing in radiant illumination. "Now!" Greg said, desperation flooding into his words. "We need to activate it together." They all joined hands, channeling their fear and anger into unison. The moment felt monumental. The lantern surged forward: light, hope, warmth. The shadows writhed, shrieking in rage as beams shot outward. "No! Not again!" a monstrous voice screamed from within the darkness. The energy exploded from the pedestal, a radiant burst of pure light engulfing them. In that split second, time felt suspended. Hannah's heart thumped in her chest. Were they truly escaping? The pulse of the light swallowed the shadows, erasing them from existence, like dawn breaking upon the darkest night. The darkness shattered, revealing a new reality. The friends found themselves standing amidst familiar trees, the sweet scent of pine flooding their senses, sunlight streaming through leaf-abundant branches above. They stepped back, wide-eyed, absorbed in the vibrant colors of the world they thought they had lost. "Did it work?" Lisa whispered, hope flickering in her voice. The ground was solid beneath them, no hint of the chasms they had just escaped. "I think we're back," Hannah murmured, staring at her friends with awe. "We made it." Relief washed over them, akin to rain after a long drought. Their laughter rang out, breaking the silence with joy. Yet, deep inside, a gnawing fear lingered: the memory of the darkness that would always haunt them. "Let us get out of the woods," Marcus said, glancing back nervously. They turned, making their way home, their hearts still pounding, but hope gleaming bright. Each step felt heavier yet lighter, a complex mix of emotions swirling in their chests. As they emerged from the tree-line, the sun hung low in the sky, casting a golden hue over everything. They had survived. They defaced their fears together and made it back, yet shadows of uncertainty lingered, as if the woods retained a secret they had yet to uncover. "Hey," Hannah said, pausing. "Do you think it's really over? What if it wasn't a one-time thing?" "I don't know," Marcus replied, tightened with apprehension. "But if we're being honest, we touched something big. We need to be ready." Together, Greg nodded, a comforting smile spreading across his face. "Always." With renewed strength and a bond tightened by the unspeakable, they shared their final glances at the looming forest. They had faced the darkness, had risen against the tide, and now the choice lay before them: to embrace their normal lives yet hold on to the lessons they learned, or to delve deeper into hope and uncover the truth behind the shadows forever looming over their town. As they walked away, the wind whispered secrets into the treetops, but for now, they were home. They were alive. They were free. But beneath the surface, an echo of danger lurked. Would it remain buried in the woods, or would it rise again someday? This is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe now to make sure you don't miss any exclusive stories coming up next. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm, and don't you dare hesitate to flood the comments with your reactions and theories about what just happened. And remember, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to join us on this journey.